All right. So this week, talking about something that is a little on the controversial side. And we're talking about religion. Now, if you're not religious, hold up before you hit the skip button or whatever. Give this one a little bit of time to be able to bake, okay? Because this one has a lot of the aspects that I've been talking about in the previous topics. This just kind of rolls it into a different angle and to kind of show you why thoughts make you create your results. So we're going to look at this on episode 138. Why is religion important? Talking about that this week on the Relaxed Male. This is the Relaxed Male, a show that comes to you each week helping men to remove the nice guy from their life so they can actually live their life on their terms. Join the host, certified coach Brian Goodwin, as he helps men step out of their heads and become free from the thoughts that bind them. Hey man, hello and welcome to Relaxed Male. All right, so before we get into the topics, I want to do a couple of things. Got a little, I guess, almost a continuing notice that, or segment that I might be doing here for a bit. And that is, first off, I want to first talk about Operation Tears of the 22. This is an event that's coming up on August 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. At the time of this recording, that is just a little over 2 weeks away. So if you're going to come and join us, then please, man, please do go over to hit the link. We've got a link to it over in the show notes. If not, you can go to Operation Tears, or you can go to relaxedmale.com/tears, and that'll take you over to the Eventbrite page. Sign up, let Matt know you're coming. And then also go ahead and get your camping spot reserved, because we are going to have a grand old time. We've got not only me talking, we've actually even got a new entry into the entertainment lineup. We've got a comedian, I think, that's going to be coming in. We've got food that's going to be provided. We're going to be here to have a little camaraderie with the veterans. We're helping the veterans to just sit back, relax, rewind, and you can enjoy in the fun, as much fun as what the veterans are going to be having. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be coaching my butt off. I'm going to be coaching people hard, and I want y'all to be there. So if you're wanting a little coaching, hey, you're going to see me walking around there. I'm going to have a big goofy hat on, so you're going to be able to see me all over the place. I'll be there. I'm going to be coaching. I'm going to be talking. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and helping you to figure out steps that you want to take in your life. So if you want a little free coaching for during the next 4 days, come down during Operation Tears of the 22's Mission Critical Retreat, because this is going to be a great time. Now, next order of business is I want to send out my thanks to those who are sending out boosts and sat streams. I have Hast Iron God 29. He actually boosted 6 sats. We got Angel Tovar 22 sent me 1 sat. Eddieem actually sent a boost of 2 sats, and Robert Gomez sent me a whole whopping 60 sats. Now, sats in the grand scheme of things, you look at that going, golly, that's not much, especially if you know how much sats are. But that's not the point. The fact that they actually saw a little bit of value in what they're receiving, what they're listening to, and they're saying, hey, here's something that I can afford. I'm listening to you. And the guys who are doing sat streams, they're every minute or so, it's sending over a sat or 2, like what Robert Gomez did. So guys, if you want to do that, there's lots of different ways you can do, like Fountain. You can actually go over to, you can go to the podcastindex.org/apps. And this tells you all the different, podcast apps that are actually supporting podcasting 2.0. Like JustCast is actually a hosting, service. They do chapters, funding, location, locks, persons, pod pings, seasons, sound bites, trailers, and value for value. Podverse is an app, open source podcast player, alternate enclosure, boostgrams. You can do boostgrams. So if you want to send a message over to me, you can do so by sending a boostergram chapters funding, and there's a whole bunch. CurioCaster is an app, podcast player, Podfriend, Castapod, RSS Blue, Podcast Guru, Buzzsprout is doing hosting, doing Podcast 2.0. Podcast Index is a directory and open source. Podcast Chapters is an app. Fountain is a podcast app. MP Money is an app. Cast-O-Matic is an app. Fireside Hosting, hosting done by Caproni. PodStation, Breeze, PodLP. I mean, we've got a lot. PowerPress by Blueberry is doing chapters, funding, location, locks, and transcripts for the Podcast 2.0. I mean, we've got a lot. 3speak.tv is doing funding, locked, person values, Sphinx Chat, Ivy. I mean, there is a lot of podcast 2.0s, and that's like Libsyn is actually even in there. It's a web-based. That's the hosting service that I use. Satoshi Stream is node hosting. Podcast 2.0 Twitter list is Social Links. I mean, we've got a whole bunch of great stuff out here. And it's going to be growing. This is the next evolution of what podcasting is going to be. So I kind of have a tendency to like to geek out about this. And that's exactly what I love doing, especially especially people who are using, the podcast 2.0, features. Now, I'm not using very many. I'm using the sats. I'm not doing the transcripts and things like that, but that's okay. Well, those will come down the pike whenever I have a little bit more time. So guys, if you're interested, curious about what this is, you can reach out to me. You can send me a message over through the emails over at Brian with a Y at relaxedmail.com, or you can go to relaxedmail.com/contact and get a hold of me that way. And if you got any questions that over any of the past podcast episodes, or you want a little help or something like that, you can always send that over. We'll talk about it on the show. So anyhow, all right, now let's jump over into the main topic. Like I said in the intro, this is a little bit of a touchy deal because when it comes to religion, people get really prickly about what they believe and what their thoughts are and what they believe. Now, a few points that I want to throw out here is, first off, man has had religion in his life for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You can go back all the way back to some of the first instances of civilizations, and there's most predominant thing you see is that what they believe, what the religion is. They've got some of the oldest religions. I think one of the oldest religions is supposed to be over in, I believe, India. And it's just, religion is important for men and for humans. Instead of saying man, this is important for humans. Now, there are as many different types of religions as there are types of people. You folks in China are going to believe something different than the folks in Japan. The folks in Russia are going to believe one type of Christianity, while Western Europeans are going to believe in a little bit different type of Christianity. And all those types of Christianities, all the different types of Christianities are completely spread apart when you get over into the U.S. You've got the different types of gods and stuff that are in the African religions. Religion is everywhere. And something that I have started noticing probably 25, 30 years ago, was that it seemed like so many people are running from religion these days. They're going, I'm agnostic. There's something out there, just don't know what it is. Okay, that's fair enough. That's part of your search for life and who you are and what you believe. But then there's a bunch of people who go, there's just no God. When we die, we just blip out and nothing there. Okay, that's something you can believe. And then you've got those who used to believe, but then they chose not to believe and decided they didn't want to have a religion, though they get really angry and they get really wound up over key points of religion. They really start to bristle about it. And it's really interesting to hear somebody who's supposed to be atheist, and yet they really give a big hoot when they hear about somebody who's a Christian. They give a real big hoot about somebody who is, believes in a God, and they really bristle up. It's almost like saying going to a Christian and talking about Islam. It's a activating line of thinking. Now, one of the main things about all these different types of religions is that there are different types of God. Now, some people may go, well, Buddhism isn't. Well, Buddhism really, actually, it does have a type of God. It's your mind. It centers around how you perceive the world. And when you are able to perceive the world within a specific type of way, you are known as to becoming enlightened. You know more. You're more enlightened into the going-ons of nature and things like that. But then you've got the Abrahamic religions. I try saying that. My lips don't bounce that way. And they all essentially worship the very same God. These three religions come from the key point of the same God. Now tell them that, and some people go, "No, that's not the same God. That's not the God I believe." But at the same time, we all believe that Abraham, who had many sons, and many sons had father Abraham. You know that song? Well, that's about Abraham. The Abrahamic religions all have Abraham in there existing. They have Moses. They have the beginning, how the earth was formed, and how we got to the world that we're in, and all this. And that is those three religions, primary religions, is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Now you can take all these and you can break them down. There's Judaism. There's the Hasidic Jews, and then there's the different, I'm gonna call them just the common Jew. I don't know what type of term. I'm very ignorant when it comes to the different, Judaism, Jewish styles of religion. There's Islam, and I know there's the Shiite and the Sunnis, and you can break those down into more different types of subgroups. And then you got Christianity, which is, you got your Catholic and you got your Protestant, and you can break the Protestants down to even more. So you got your Baptists and your Pentecostal and your Church of Gods and your Methodists and your Seventh Day Adventists, and even somewhere in there you got the Jehovah's Witnesses, and there's a whole bunch of different subgroups of Christianity. And all those subgroups break down into subgroups, which break down into smaller subgroups. But all those religions all look at having a specific God. Now, I'm actually proposing that even those who claim to be atheistic actually are believing in a God. Like I said before, they respond to a different religion the same way other religions respond to other religions. They get really prickly. They start questioning that person, giving them the third degree, and really, really giving them the what for. The same as what Christian religions, they almost do the same thing to those who are atheists. They're like, well, how can you not see? Look at the flamingo. There has to be a God because he had a sense of humor. He put the flamingo's knees on backwards. I mean, come on. You look at all the different ways that things live off of each other. You've got different types of plants that require a specific type of tree to be able to live off of. And that tree can't live unless it's got that particular type of flower living off of it. And so you got a lot of this symbiosis going on. And to me, that almost shows, I mean, come on, you've got spiders who have pet frogs. If there wasn't a God, in my book, if you didn't have a God, that thing wouldn't have happened. Would it have? I don't know. It's, we're a billion to one odd chance right now, if you're atheistic, to have as little life as we've been able to find so far. Of course, we're looking in a very, a very micro small area of a very micro small area of a very micro small area of a whole entire cosmos. So is there chances there's other life? I believe there is, but we're going to focus here on planet Earth right now. And a lot of the people who are atheistic, they actually, like I said, they have their own little subgroups of of atheism. And they're actually, who their God is really depends on what that group is. There is the church of the environmentalist, religious group. They're the ones who have a very set dogma in place. You have, at one time there was paradise, and you had the earth was peaceful, and then man showed up, and that was the great sin upon the earth. And we have just continued to spread our sin all over, and we're exploiting and tear apart and doing all this horrible stuff to the earth, thinking that we're going to kill it unless we repent our ways, and we essentially shrink back and go back into to a more conforming way of life. And so who's the God in that? Well, that would be, for them, a lot of them believe it's the earth. The earth is the God, and we are just a small group on it. And so the earth is responding to all of our sin. And that's why we have such a horrible, terrible life these days. If you happen to see that the religion being a one where we all have terrible, horrible lives because of our sin. And there's a lot of Christianity religions that believe that too, and that we've had the reason that we quote unquote suffer is because of our sin. But then there's also there's a more recent religion that has come out is the Covidien. The Covidien are those who have as Anthony Fauci as essentially the Pope of the church. Anything he could say is that's gospel, and it's all true. And whether he's changed his mind, 70 or 8 times a day. Now, whether you believe or I'm not trying to trash Covidians. I'm not trying to trash the environmental, religion. I'm just stating what the key points that I observe. The same as how you would end up, pointing out, well, Christianity is nothing more than just a bunch of exploiters. They say they love everybody, but yet they had slaves and at one point, and if they were so high and mighty, then they would know that they do all the sin that they commit, and that they're a bunch of hypocrites. And you hear all these, and I've heard all these, and these are all items to be used for. But those atheists do have a religion that they have turned to. They have a set of beliefs that they hold on to very, very firmly, and they get really hostile when those beliefs are reproached. The same as Christians do, the same as Islam does, the same as the Jewish folks do. So what is religion for? Why does everybody have religion? Well, the big one is, honestly, it gives us a moral compass. It gives us a moral code to live by. And this is one reason why the U.S. has, from the time of its founding until now, we have been able to grow and expand and experience the religion, or the freedoms that we had, is because we had a moral code that bound us together. We knew that, killing another person was wrong. And we knew that stealing another person's property was wrong. We knew that lying under oath was wrong. We knew that, children must be protected. We knew that all these things were very much important and a part of a very agreed upon moral code. And because we had that moral code, we were able to effectively self-govern ourselves. And a lot of what the problems that we run into today is because people have taken that moral code and gone, you know what? I'm not Christian. I'm not any of that type of religion. I don't believe in any of that. So I can do whatever I want. If I want to groom minors with all the different types of, alphabet people, ideology that they have right now, then they're going to indoctrinate. And that's why they have no problem, bringing drag queens into schools. That's why they don't have a problem telling 5-year-olds, hey, you can be a boy one day and a girl the next, or you can be a boy this minute and the next minute you can be a rhinoceros. They have no problem thinking that, because they have that moral code stands in the way of what they want. And so they've decided to do away with that moral code. And because we are losing the moral foundation, that's where things start getting really rocky. And there's a lot more of the government's going to need to step in because we aren't able to self-govern because we don't have that moral code. While religion provides that moral compass. Church and religion also gives us a place to be able to meet each other for a very common topic. Christians meet other Christians in congregational gatherings known as churches. And Jewish folks, they go to synagogue, and and Muslims and Islam, they have their temple. You have, Latter-day Saints, they go to a temple. There's a lot of these that we all have a gathering place where we know we can go and we can celebrate our religion. And we meet on a very regular basis. Now, what religion is not? One of the best things I've ever heard is religion is not a museum for saints. It's a hospital for sinners. This is a place for sinners to be able to go and to be able to meet and go, dude, I know we've messed up. Religion is not a place for people get really turned off when you see people walk in and they're very hoity-toity and act like they're all prim and proper, though we know we've seen them over at the bar just Saturday night. And so a lot of people have trouble saying people putting on those type of airs. They become very turned off by it. They become very disillusioned by it. But yet at the same time, you can actually change how those views are. You can change what you think of, Sister Jessica Better Than You, who you saw over at the Red Lantern just last night. You can say, all right, she's trying. She knows she screwed up. She went right against what the Baptist church's doctrine was. She went dancing and drank alcohol. And now she's at church. Well, okay, good. At least she showed up at church. She knows she messed up. She's okay. The time when it gets bad is when she starts trying to lecture somebody that they shouldn't be going to the bar. Unless she's going, I know I go to the bar a lot and I shouldn't be going to the bar either. So do you want to help each other? This is a great way to be able to have church enfolded onto other people. I will start to try to enunciate my words a little clearer. I'm getting mush mouth. Religion is not a place for you to say, I'm better than you. That's not what religion does. It's not a popularity contest. A lot of people like to view it as a popularity contest, but that's just a flaw of man. And anytime you have man involved in anything, there's going to be flaws in it. There's going to be mess ups and screw ups. That's like our country, the United States of America. Not the best place in the world, but it is just right next to it. It's not perfect, but by gosh, we're doing everything we can and to try to get it as close to perfection as we can. And it's never really going to happen. We can give man as many free runs as possible. And that the more you give them a chance to live their life freely, the more they're going to screw up. But as long as they are okay and they realize that they can continue to mess up and fix that problem, then that's where the beauty of religion comes into play. Because in my beliefs, God gave us free will. He also knows that what sins we're going to commit. But yet he doesn't step in. He lets us go ahead and step through that big steaming pile of dog poo, knowing that he's going to wash it off later on. It's like he's going to step in it. Yep, there it goes. He stepped in it. All right. Well, that's part of his love for us, is that he doesn't control us. He doesn't micromanage all of our steps. He allows us to make mistakes. He allows us to be a hypocrite. And knowing that eventually we're going to see the light and start trying to make amends to it. So why do people leave the church? If people have been leaving the church and our churches are shrinking more and more and more, why is that? Well, I mean, there's some of it has to do with abuse. I think a lot of people also are afraid that they're going to get abused, and so they leave also. And some people, they don't see a purpose. Others are peer pressure, especially the kids in college. Are peer pressured into just not going to church or leaving religion altogether because their teachers are standing there telling them that religion is a voodoo science and that it's not worth spending your time and all that. They also, a lot of people see the hypocrisy, but forget that, again, the church is a hospital for sinners, not a museum for saints. And this one here is real funny because it definitely shows the projection. They see religious people as being hateful. Yet I also see a lot of atheists who are hell-bent on making sure that we're shown and told how hateful we are in very, very not nice language. And then another reason is because people just simply change beliefs. They may see something, they get another piece of information, they go, you know what? Yeah, okay. That's one reason why you see a Baptist who go to Church of Christ, and Church of Christ may go to Methodist, and Methodist may become Presbyterian, and Presbyterian comes over and becomes, Baptist. And we just all kind of shuffle around and find some place that it helps us to see and understand what we're doing. Now, a lot of people also think that they don't get much out of religion. And you're right. You're not going to get anything out of religion unless you put something in. You get out of religion, what you put into religion. So if you're going to become religious, you've got to start becoming active in the church. Best way to be able to become a person of God is to actually engage in church. And you can do so in many different ways. Maybe it's you're standing up and singing in the choir, or you're just standing up and singing with the rest of the congregation. Maybe it's just enough for you to just attend Sunday school or Wednesday night service, or maybe Sunday evening service. There's a lot of different ways that you can apply yourself to church and be able to get a little bit more out. Maybe you host a men's oriented church group. Can't hurt to ask, can it? Maybe if you were to bring together a bunch of men and, have it to where y'all do manly things where, like we're all getting together and we're all building canoes, or we're going to do some jujitsu, or we're going to do this, that, or these, those. We're going to build a house as a group of men, and we're going to have a prayer before, we're going to do the work. And at the end of the day, we're going to have prayer again. And we're going to, we call it a day. There's a whole lot of different ways that you can apply religion, and you can witness to people. Now that's the spiky thing that a lot of atheists really get, because they see, oh, well, yeah, we get the Bible thumpers coming around telling us how bad we are. Well, okay. Inexperienced Bible thumpers will. Yeah. They'll come along holding that Bible and go, this says you sinned and you need to repent and become a child of God and yada, 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 yada. Or you can live your life the way you think God wants you to live. And that is actually witnessing to those in your community. And they don't even have to actually know what religion you are. You may be Jewish and you go to a synagogue every Saturday, but you may just not. And you may be a non-practicing Jewish man. You may be a non-practicing Muslim. You may be a non-practicing Christian. You may be a non-practicing, Hindu. There's a lot of all these different religions. There's a lot of people who just don't practice. They have their beliefs. They just don't go through the process of practicing. Now, one of the things I see that's really important with religion, besides for giving you the moral compass and the group of people to be able to see, religion gives you hope. Religion gives you the strength that you need to be able to take those steps to improve yourself. Because especially within Christianity, there's one I really know. I thoroughly believe God wants you to become rich and successful. What rich and successful means is dependent upon you. God wants you to become successful. He wants you to become as successful as you possibly can, because the more successful you are, the better you're able to display the glory of what that religion is. You have a better influence. So religion is good. And I really do find it sad that there are so many men who have left religion. I don't go to church near as often as I should. I haven't gone to church. Actually, I haven't gone to church this year. And there's a part of me that really feels like I need to, and I should. And it's not a guilt type of should. It's like I should go because I want to be able to meet with other men in the community and show them let them know, hey, there's a men's coach here who's willing to help you out. And why haven't I? I've had things higher on my priority than God. So like I said, no one who goes to church is perfect. There was only one man who was perfect, and he was actually the Son of God. So he had a little extra advantage. He had the home field advantage on that one. But you can do your damnedest. And that's all anybody is asking for. Anybody in society. Live right. Live a proper moral code. And we all know what a proper moral code is. Live your life to the fullest and let other people live their life to their fullest. Don't rob. Don't steal. Don't jerk people around. Be a nice person. Help those who need help when you can, but not at your sacrifice. And when you do that, you actually have a pretty darn good community. You have a pretty darn good group of people who you can become friends with. And so think about that for the rest of this week. Look at what you actually believe, what you don't believe, and understand that those beliefs are just truths that you perceive to be, or beliefs are nothing more than thoughts that you perceive to be true. I'll get it out one day. And if you can do that and you get the thought out correctly, you're going to do great. You're going to live life well, and you're going to honor your God. And the atheists, they walk around, sadly, and they find themselves to be really miserable people because they are fighting their very thought that they don't believe in God by worshiping a God of man. And talk about a fallible God. Man is completely fallible, and you've got people who are wanting to worship man as being the God. And boy, if that's going to lead to heartache, if anything, that particular religion right there is going to be it. So you can believe what you want to believe. You don't have to believe what you don't want to believe. It doesn't hurt my feelings, because it all depends upon what do you believe? What are your thoughts of whatever the topic is? And are you living your life to the highest code? Are you living your life to the highest standards? If you are, awesome, great. You're doing awesome. You're doing amazing. Keep it up. If you're not, then, that little niggling of guilt that you have there might be your conscience telling you, you know what, dude, you could actually do just a little bit better. Apply yourself just a little bit more. Yeah, it's a little boring. It's a little tiring, but the reward is tremendous. So guys, with that, I want to thank you very much for listening. If there's anything in here that resonated with you, you agreed, or you come across, maybe you had a religious discussion with somebody down the road, and this really fits in with that discussion, share it out with everybody. Share it out over onto Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Truth Social, if you're on that, and Parler and Getter and any other social media platform that you happen to have. So guys, with that, I want to thank y'all very much for listening. Y'all take care. We will talk to you next week. Till then, bye.